Hello, and today's learning target is I can solve word problems involving scientific notation. Let's take a look at a few word problems. In a recent year, farmers planted approximately 92.9 million acres of corn. They also planted 64.1 million acres of soybeans and 11.1 million acres of cotton. Part A, write each of these numbers in scientific notation and in standard form. Let's take a look first at writing corn in scientific notation and standard form. So if I look at the first one, corn, I know that that's 92.9 million acres of corn. So if I write that out in standard form, that's 92,900,000. That's standard form. Scientific notation then would be 9.29, and I have to make sure I have the right number of zeros, or I move my decimal over the right amount of times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 9.29 times 10 to the 7th. Now let's look at soybeans. I need to write this in standard form. And so 64.1 million would be 64,100,000. And then scientific notation would be 6.41 times 10 to the 7th. Again, that has the same amount of place values after soybeans as corn did. And then if I look at cotton, 11.1 million would be written as 11,100,000. And then in scientific notation, that would be 1.11 times 10 to the 7th. So that would be for part A. Part B now asks how many times as much corn was planted as soybeans. Write your results in standard form and in scientific notation. Round your answer to 4 decimal places. So how many times as much corn was planted as soybeans means I need to take my corn and divide it by the soybeans. So 9.29 divided by 6.4, so if I look strictly at the scientific notation, 9.29 times 10 to the 7th divided by 6.41 times 10 to the 7th, and 9.29 divided by 6.41 is rounded to 4 decimal places, 1.4493, because I have to round the 2 up to a 3 because it's a 9 afterwards. So double check on your calculator that you can get that answer. And then 10 to the 7th, and over 10 to the 7th dividing, I really subtract exponents with the same base. So that gives me times 10 to the 0 power, because anything to the 0 power is 1. So this 1.4493 really is my answer. If I were to write that in standard form as well, that would just be 1.4493. Part C says, how many times as much corn was planted as cotton? Write your results in standard form and in scientific notation. Round your answer to 4 decimal places. So how much times as much corn now was planted than cotton? I'm going to say 9.29 times 10 to the 7th divided by 1.11 times 10 to the 7th. And then 9.29 divided by 1.11 is 8.3694 if I round to 4 decimal places. And then 10 to the 7th over 10 to the 7th gives me again 0, so times 10 to the 0, because that really equals 1. So that's my scientific notation, and then in standard form it would be 8.3694, and then that would be my answer. Let's take a look at number 2. And number 2 reads, a 30-second commercial aired during the 2007 Super Bowl cost $2,600,000. A 30-second commercial aired during the 1967 Super Bowl cost $40,000, so quite a big difference. Express these values in scientific notation. How many times more expensive was it to air an advertisement during the 2007 Super Bowl than the 1967 Super Bowl? So first, let's write each of these in scientific notation. So 2007 Super Bowl would be 2.6 times 10 to the 6th power. Again, that has 6 zeros, and I put a dollar sign there to represent money. And then 1967 Super Bowl would be 4 times 10 to the 4th. Again, that's because it has 4 zeros after the 40,000. So now, how many times more expensive was it to air an advertisement during the 2007 than the 1967 Super Bowl? I now want to take 2.6 times 10 to the 6th and divide that by 4 times 10 to the 4th. And 2.6 divided by 4 is 0.65. And then 10 to the 6th over 10 to the 4th is times 10 squared. Again, I subtract. But what rule am I breaking? This number here has to be between 1 and 10, so I need to move this decimal place over 1. So that becomes 6.5. And then since I wanted to go to the right, 2 place values here, I already went 1 to the right. So that makes my exponent be 10 to the 1st and go down 1. So 6.5 times 10 to the 1st, or this would be 65 times more expensive, which is quite a bit more expensive to air a Super Bowl commercial in 2007 than 1967. All right, last word problem. Number 3, the height of a mountain is about 8,000 meters, and the thickness of a dollar bill is about 0.0001 meters. How many times larger is the height of a mountain than the thickness of a dollar bill? Express your answer in scientific notation and standard form. So really, it's just knowing what to set up here and what divides by what. So 8,000 divided by 0.0001, and that gives me 8,000 divided by 0.0001, and I get 80 million. So again, that's 7 zeros, so then that is already in standard form. So then to put this into scientific notation is 8 times 10 to the, and again, hopefully you know, but million has 6 zeros. If you have to add one more, that's 7. So this is 8 times 10 to the 7th. And then those would be both of my answers in scientific notation and standard form. Thanks for listening to Scientific Notation Day 2 word problems. Please be ready and prepared to answer some challenging word problems, and have a great day. Bye-bye.